Hi, we're doing a video here for Chat Physics. I'm Henry. I'm a physics teacher at Alexandra Park School in North London, and I also work for the Ogden Trust. I'm advisor for them. I'm the physics leadership advisor for the Ogden Trust. And I'm doing this video in collaboration with Jackie.
Hello, I'm Jackie and I'm a physics teacher at Chipping Campden School, and I also am the teaching and learning lead for the Ogden Trust. If you haven't heard about the Ogden Trust, it's a charitable education trust with the aim of increasing the number of students doing post-16 physics.
And if you're a physics teacher, the Ogden Trust is really good at being nice to you and helping you out with doing that. So we're doing a video here about wow, how now, as a sort of catchphrase to think about how we get from those demos that we want to get in the classroom to meaningful learning. So we're going to get going with this, and I want to start with some pictures. Jackie, can you tell me about any problems that might occur with demonstrations like this?
Okay, well, let's have a look at our Van der Graaf demo here. We all, as physics teachers, love that. Our students love it. But you'll often sort of scroll through Twitter, or you'll be visiting schools and see demonstrations like this. They are brilliant. They are a wow factor. They're really good at sort of awe and wonder, providing that for our students. So in terms of motivating students, that's absolutely fabulous. But my question is sometimes, and about my own practice too, is that wow factor demo in the right place? So yes, we want to provide the awe and wonder, but my job as a teacher is also to facilitate the understanding that means they can go on to do great things in science in the future. So the question is, yes, this is a wow, but what is the how? What's the science? What's the physics that's underpinning the demonstrations that we choose?
It's no good for learners to come back into the lesson a week later on or a couple of weeks later and say, I remember that demo, but what was I supposed to have learned around it? So this framework was something that I know you've used for a while, Jackie, particularly the first two sections of it, to think about how to sequence your demonstrations and what you do. So the wow, that moment to explore how engaging practicals can be used as hooks, those wows, as you say, that awe, that wonder, that's what science is built on. The how, where does it go in the learning? Never have a wow without a how, to explore and ensure that the practical activities are purposeful. And you've added a third bit.
Yeah, so this was inspired by Dr. Matt Pritchard, who's a science communicator, science magician, and he added on the now. So we already had our wow and how as a way of thinking about demos, but he got us to think about, where are the links with this learning? What careers does this particular bit of physics lead to? Which other bits of my science learning does it connect to? Other bits across the curriculum in the wider curriculum of the school, and building science capital from such activities, which we'll talk about in a little while.
And we aren't just out on a limb here. We have got, there is some evidence that backs that this seems to be a sensible way to go. The Ofsted recent research report, looked at science practicals, and they said, look, it's very important that there is still those demonstrations, those wow moments, but they must have a clear reference to any curricular goal.
Yeah, and then I think that's the Miller and Abrams research. Obviously, it's older there, but still stands that basically, what are the learning objectives? Have you identified what you want to get out of this demonstration with your students? It could be that it's subject matter knowledge. It could be that it's developing skills. It could be that you're looking for recall. It could be that you're applying learning to a different situation, a different context.
And there was this brilliant report by the Education Endowment Foundation. It was a few years back, that looked at in depth at science, and this fits very nicely in with strand 5 of this, of the purposeful practical work and thinking about the sequencing of it. We think this report's really useful, don't we, Jackie?
Yeah, and I think they're the questions underneath, very hard to see on this screen here, but using your practical work to develop scientific reasoning. And so checking the sequencing, what's the purpose, and using a variety of approaches to practical work. So in terms of our demos, if we have a little look about that in more detail, what we're going to look at now is, what does this how part of the wow, how now mean? And for me, a really key bit of planning is the teacher explanation. So if we're going to do this demonstration, what's the narrative? What am I going to be saying? What do I need to draw out? And that can be a commentary. Like I say, it could be to introduce new concepts. It could be to revisit previously taught topics. It could be to make links between topics. And I think questioning is such a powerful tool as part of this. So it could be that we do that demonstration and get the students to put their questions. Oh, how did that happen? If there's something counterintuitive in the demo, it can be even more engaging for them, even more impactful. But our questioning can be, like I said, simple recall, or it can be really probing, and you're trying to develop a dialogue that is there to build understanding. So for me, that's the key part of the planning.
And it's a really useful framework. I mean, we've sort of said, wows, do we want them? Well, it depends. Not always. We want them at the right places to be sequenced and to make sure that meaningful learning takes place. But we do want them because of that awe and wonder factor around science. And this how becomes a placeholder. And it's not really always a how exactly what's the physics behind that. It might be, but it might also be something about thinking about what we could investigate, or how we could have a detailed description of the thing we're seeing, or how we could look at a framework or model to help student understanding. So that how gets us to think about what's the learning that's going to go on with this this demonstration. And then we've got the now. And this now bit, I guess the key to this, Jackie, is thinking about how does it link both to the students in your classroom and the context that they're coming from, but also to that sort of careers route that they're going on, hopefully going on to fill a STEM pipeline that we have a gap in. Hopefully they're going to go on and take this learning and use it in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we need to do here, we all know that the more relevant you can make the topic that you're covering, the more engagement you're going to get. So they see the point of learning this particular law, this particular piece of theory. So we build that physics understanding, and now we're looking at the applications of it, whether it's something that they're seeing when they go to a theme park, or something that they're just seeing on their way home from school, something that they can apply, they can sort of hook that learning onto, and they can apply their learning to different contexts. Like we said before, retrieval, they're linking in with previously taught topics, maybe in physics or the other sciences, or it could be that there are links with geography, food technology, whatever it is. And yeah, if we wow them, we get them engaged in science, we do the how right, we develop their subject knowledge and their skills, then now the world's their oyster, they can go on and do careers in related fields.
And as physics is all joined up, it could well be interleaving back to topics we've already covered or they've seen before, and seeing how these different bits of physics connect to each other. So there's lots of now opportunities. And again, it's not just us. There is some good evidence behind this. There's a large piece of research going on by the Science Capital team. And it suggests many of these things that you just mentioned, Jackie. So that sort of backs this bit. So what might this look like in real life? Well, let's do a little talk through of an example. That's a short, a short summary of what we've done, isn't it? We go, wow, how now? And very important thinking about the learning outcome, and very important how to think about the demo will help you achieve this. So we'll do an example. Jackie, talk me through this. What have we got going on here?
So this is a fabulous demo that I saw in an IOP CPD during lockdown. And after all these years of teaching, this one was new to me, and I think it's a real wow factor. So you've got your UV torch sitting on top of a glass of tonic water, and it's a real wow effect. So when might we use this though? Because the physics behind explaining how this ultraviolet, beyond the visible spectrum torch, is causing tonic water to glow in the violet part of the visible spectrum. So the understanding behind that, the explanation of that, energy levels, excitation, emission of photons, all that stuff would be key stage 5, definitely. But if we have a look at the next picture, where this might be utilised well is in key stage 3, even key stage 4. If you're starting to look beyond the spectrum, it might be a demonstration of that there is light beyond the visible. Or in this demo, we've got a Petri dish with some sun cream sitting on top of the glass. So what we're looking at here is it could be looking at that whole idea of waves, where we've got source, journey, detector, and something's going on in between the source and the detector or the absorber, as the tonic water is in this case. So they can look at the effects of different substances in between, different sun creams, different layers. But it's the same demo, but we're just accessing it at different levels of understanding.
So that how learning here could be the idea that you've got a source that's ultraviolet here. We've got a detector, which is the quinine in the tonic, and there's a journey between that source and the detector. There's an uninterrupted journey through the air on the left, and there's an absorption happening with the sun cream on the right, and we can see a difference in the detector. So that how, as Jackie mentioned, may not be the sort of the excitation levels of atoms and the sort of the physics going on at the fundamental level of what the physics behind it is, but gives us a really good bit of learning that links to this demonstration and helps us out with it. And of course, there's plenty of now there because sun lotion, why do we use it? Why is it important? What does it do? So we've got that sort of real life application going on as well. We've got one
And
other
even
example.
there, sorry, I was just going to say there, even linking back to, in primary schools, they will have been looking at visible light and shadows. And, shadow puppets, puppet theatres, that being an absorber of visible light. So making those links to see the bigger picture of physics is really important too, isn't it?
And we've just about got time for one more quick talk through. So this
Oh,
is one
my
of your favourites, Jackie. So you crack on, I'll turn the video on.
Yeah, so Peppas Ghost. I'm sure many of you will have seen this. So you have two candles, one in front of a safety screen, one behind, and the one in front, as you can see here, is lit. And if you've got the one behind placed correctly, it looks like there are two lit candles. So you can put your finger in the flame of the one at the back, you can pour water on the one at the back. But you will see, if you take the sideways view, that obviously the one at the back isn't lit. So this I've seen used effectively as a wow in Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3, as an introduction to just the word reflection. Wow, what's going on here? It's being used as a hook for looking at reflection. But for me, this is very powerful. Key Stage 4, if you're looking at that term, what's a virtual image? That's quite a difficult concept for our students to understand. This is actually a way of them, putting it, a setting there that you can develop the dialogue, you can discuss. And then also, I know several students find it quite tricky to draw that ray construction of how the image forms in a mirror. At GCSE, they need to know that the object distance, the distance between the candle and the screen at the front, is the same as the image distance, the unlit candle at the back here, and the screen. And this is a really powerful way of doing that, because if you don't get your object distance and your image distance where you place your unlit candle at the back right, the illusion won't work. So this is an example of a real wow moment that we can actually use the how to develop the physics understanding really clearly. And then now they'll often talk about going to Harry Potter World and seeing illusions like this, or you could talk about the historical version of it before we had electricity in the theatres, and they did this with a fire, apparently.
So that's lovely, Jackie, because you've got, a lovely piece of a teacher showpiece, if you like, where you're, maybe pouring water on a candle and showing that you're a physics teacher. You can pour water all over a candle and it's not a problem, it stays lit. Or you can put your hand right above it and pretend you're burning yourself. So you've got that lovely piece of theatre, if you like, lovely piece of wow. And then you've got a real piece of meaningful learning that you want from it. The virtual image, the ray diagram with it, we know that's tricky. It's something that can be tied in with this. And as you say, you've got those a range of nows, from whether it's auto cues and teleprompters to Harry Potter to back to how they used to do this illusion in the theatre. So I think that sort of gets us towards the end of our video of what we wanted to show you, and sort of this framework that Jackie, you use it, and you always used to say never have a wow without a how, and you've brought the now into it, and it's a really nice framework. And we thought we'd just show you a little bit of what the Ogden Trust might be able to do to help you out. So we hope that's been a useful video for you. And then now how can the Ogden Trust support you? So there's two programs we thought we'd quickly mention. Jackie, you've done a lot of work around SKPT. Do you want to say something on that?
Well, what I really wanted to say is that actually, if you're a physics specialist or you've been teaching a while, you've got lots of these wows, and you can skillfully put them into your classroom practice. If you're in the early stages of your career, or you're a non-specialist, you haven't quite maybe got the repertoire or the confidence to do this. So at the Trust, we've got a couple of support programs, and it would expand your repertoire. So if you're a non-specialist teaching physics, the skipped course, we've got a menu of topics available. It's a blended course in collaboration with Open Learn Create, the Open University, local tutors, lots of details on our website there. Or if you're in the early stages of your career, we've got a 5-year programme bespoke for you, really, that provides mentoring and support in that early stage.
Lovely. Thank you, Jackie. Well, it's been a real pleasure doing this video with you. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to stop the recording there.